And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tuesday edition of our Bedtime Stories from Beyond here on the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are live as usual. Diana, that should work now, but you might have to leave the room and come back, and then it'll work, I think. I don't know what kind of lag there is on that, but I thought I'd done it, but I must not have hit save. So anyway, Diana's going to be a new mod here in the portal, so thank you for taking on that responsibility, and thank you for helping us out. That's really cool, and we appreciate it. So hope you guys are having a great night. Lady, I love the way you did that. Lady Death just did a whole blanket hello to so many people. Yay. Good thinking. I think that's kind of the way it's got to go. You got to, because there's so many people that come in regularly, and I mean, this is our own version of Cheers. I think this is like our paranormal Cheers up in here. So I think it'll work. But anyway, hope you guys are having a great night. Thank you for joining us on the show, and I hope you're all ready because it's time for bed. There I am. Sorry. I'm just not sure why that's not working. Is it working? I got the pop-out chat going on, but it doesn't look like that wrench is still there, Diana. I'm not sure I got your thing in there. It says it's all good, and so I don't know. Should be there, though. Should be working, but the wrench isn't showing up on my chat anyway, but she is the new mod, just for the official notice. So we have Lady and Diana here, and they'll be keeping track of things. The chat's in good hands. I know it is. So welcome to the show, guys. And we, of course, are got our Wednesday show tomorrow night. Don will be here tomorrow night as usual, and we'll see what we can get into tomorrow night. But again, on the 2nd, which is Saturday, the Duke will be joining us. The Duke will be here. So that's Duke Sullivan of World Bigfoot Radio will be joining us here on the portal, and I'm really excited for that. And then I think we're going to do listener emails and such on Friday night, and I think that'll be really cool. So and again, ladies and gentlemen, the phone lines will be open. If you have a story you'd like, share it on Friday night. I've been getting several more in, and I'm really thrilled about that. Absolutely thrilled, because those to me are the greatest shows. Are when you guys end up putting in your experiences. I think that is so powerful, and it definitely is for me. So, hey Zara, good to see you. But let's see. I'm just going to go through the roster quick here and see who is in here to say hi. Since Lewis told me how. We got Annette here. Hi, Annette. Diana, Gemini, Gentry, good to see ya. Jess, good to see ya. Lady Death, good to see ya. Lena, aloha. I can't say good to see ya to Lena because she's in the lap of paradise in Hawaii. So good to see you, Lena. Thanks for joining us. Lewis is here. And Matthew, how you doing, Matthew? And Omi Nalani and Zara of Paranormal White Noise. So great to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. And I'm sure more will come in as time goes on. But let's get to some stories here. Let's get to the creepy stuff, shall we? That's what I came for. All right. First one is coming out of Texas, ladies and gentlemen. And this is hopefully a good story. I don't know. Let's see. It's not real long, but they don't have to be long. It's not the quantity of the story, it's the quality. So as I'm writing this, I'm currently house sitting for my brother. And yesterday, right before I went to work, I was in the living room and had just shut off the TV, and all of it. It said I just shut off the TV. Then it said, when I turned the television off, I noticed a shadow going through a corner of the room. I saw the shadow as it was disappearing. And I was the only person in the house at the time, and my brother's dog was in its room sound asleep. And I know that the door to the living room was closed and that no one from the neighborhood was anywhere near the house. Also earlier in that day, I was on the computer in the office, and I felt some presence was standing at the door, just watching me. The house that my brother lives in was built around 3 years ago, and he's the first owner. But even as I'm writing this story, it feels like someone is watching me from my right, and there is no one there. The dog is in another room right now, sleeping, and I've never had the feeling like this before at his house. I wrote a story about 3 black shadows at my bed, and I'm starting to wonder if any one of these ghosts have followed me over to my brother's house while I am house sitting for him. Nothing else has ever happened at my brother's house before until the past couple of days. And I also highly doubt that the area where the house is built could be haunted or anything except for what maybe is following me. And that's the fallacy, right? That's the idea that the old, maybe the Beetlejuice idea, like, oh, they can't leave the house, they got to stay. If they go out, they end up on Venus with the big sandworms or whatever the hell those things were. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think they can kind of go where they want, and they can at least a large majority of them can. I don't think that they're anchored to a spot. If they want to follow you and see what you're doing, they're going to follow you, I guess. And quite frankly, I hope so, because I can't imagine if you were stuck in a location, if you were stuck in a space geographically for hundreds of years, however long, I mean, would you not go insane? I mean, everybody would go insane. You would lose your mind. And I can't believe that that's any different for the formerly living and, as it is to the living. I mean, we all just need that kind of stimulation because it's, of change and of variety. And if you were stuck someplace, you'd just go nuts. So, just in case I end up getting stuck somehow, I hope I can go where the hell I want to. I don't want to be stuck in a closet somewhere when somebody's, hangers are sitting. Yeesh, that'd be horrible. So, oh, I didn't go back to the chat, did I? Let me go back to the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. All right, so here we are. All right. And Diana, if that still doesn't come up after tomorrow's episode, then I don't know what the hell's wrong. I did it the same way I've done it for everyone else, except this time I actually remembered to save it, which I didn't do last night. But it should be working, so I'm not sure why it's not. Okay, so that one was kind of cool, and it brings up a good point about our spirits able to be transient, and I believe they are. I don't know. I think that there are situations where some aren't. I don't know what that is because there's been reports of hauntings that literally take place within like a 4 foot by 4 foot space, and that's it. In the whole location, there's only one small area that has any kind of weirdness going on. It's almost like something's tethered to that space. And I don't know what could do that or what does do that or what that situation is, but it's more than just residual because it actually affects physical things. Like essentially there was this office location that had a basement, and at the bottom of this basement, there was this space that was about 20 feet by 20 feet, and it seemed like every night they had instances going on there, and including this like a divider between a desk and another space. They put up like what would be like a cubicle wall, but they anchored it with lag bolts, and that got yanked out of the studs and was laying on the floor. So whatever did it had an incredible amount of force, and they got a lot of that stuff on tape. And it was, I think the person that owned that was the same one that developed the ultraviolet photography and such for spirit hunting or ghost hunting, or for paranormal investigating. But or at least he has a company that did that, was helping develop it or develop some form of that. But the activity stayed really in a very precise location. There'd be like a screwdriver on the table left, and the security camera would show it just kind of moving and then flipping and then flying off the desk, and the office chair in that space would move around, and it was just weirdness, but it was only that little bit of space. Like that's as far as it could go, and it's very strange. So take it or leave it, just my thoughts on the thing, but I think there's something to that. All right, the next one comes out of South Carolina, and this is more about a haunted space as well. So it all started about 6 or 7 years ago, and I was most likely around the age of 8, maybe 9 years old at the time, and I lived in this mobile home in South Carolina. It was in a mobile home park, and I was sleeping one morning and suddenly woke up because I had the sense that something was watching me. When I was awake, I glanced around my room and suddenly saw this figure. I looked at her, and she was really tall and looked like someone from a Western movie. At the time, she didn't seem like she was going to hurt me, but then she started moving towards me. She had this look on her face that I can't forget for some reason. It was a very seldom, I don't know what seldom means, a very seldom calm look. But all at the same time, it was evil. And I became very frightened, and I pulled my covers over my head. There it is with the covers again. I could feel a pressure on the blanket and prayed that when I looked out from my covers, nothing would be there. And when I looked out of my covers, about 15 minutes later, she wasn't there anymore. I ran out of my room. Oh my God. Why is this buffering stuff happening? That is really frustrating. I don't know why. Lady, what's going on? Yeah, let me look at I got green. I can show you guys what I'm seeing. And this is one of the indicators that I get for the sake of the stream. But let me show you quick. This bar right here is the well, now that I did it, of course it's gonna do that. But let me refresh here. I suppose it'll open another chat now. It usually does. But that green bar there is basically my stream strength to YouTube. And so I don't know why. And then additionally, on my production software, you see there's a little green square here. This is also a streaming indicator to show me what my strength is for the stream. So I don't know what in the hell's going on, but something seems amiss. But I don't know. We'll see. I hope it clears up. I don't know. I mean, I got a lot of tabs open, but nothing extraordinary. And usually when tabs are open, okay. When tabs are open and they're not being used, they go into the standby phase. They aren't actually active, but they shouldn't be affecting the streaming. So I don't know. I'm sorry if it is buffering. I don't know what the hell's wrong, but I paid my bill. I paid my bill, so I don't know what the hell the deal is. But anyway, keep me posted, please. If the streaming doesn't get better, I'm going to maybe start restarting my router before the streams just to see if that'll help. But I don't want this experience for you guys to be real frustrating. I don't know. Very, very, very screwy. Oh, yeah, I could close this. I guess that might help. There we go. All right, so I'm closing a few applications as I think of them to try to help maybe lighten the load. I don't know. I don't know if it'll matter, but I closed everything I can now, so let's hope that does it. And again, it might just do it on its own anyway, but we'll just keep at it. We'll just keep at it. Let me start this again. So he saw this cowgirl, and she had an evil look on her face. It's a lady wrote this. So the lady hid under the covers and looked again, and it was gone. And she said, I ran out of my room very quickly. After this incident, weird things still took place. Every night there would be this light on my door, always in the same shape, sort of a flower shape, but in different areas. And it would stay on my door about the same time every night from about 9 to 10:30ish, and then it would just disappear. Nothing around my door would make this shape. My doorknob would also become really hot sometimes, like that of a fire in the room. And to this day, I wonder about occurrences in my house. It was a new mobile home, and we were the first to live in it, so I can't think of why it would be haunted. But let's say, for instance, in that case, it might just be a situation where there was a house on that location at one point, and the spirit is trying to share the idea that their house burned down, and perhaps this spirit lost its life. This person lost their life in the house and now remains a spirit. So the fire and the warm door could indicate the idea that it was a fire. I don't know. It's one of those things that you have to look symbolically at what's going on and try to decipher if that is a method of attempted communication, because spirits communicate in symbols. I need to sage the channel. Lady says I need to sage the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I could do some more saging, I guess. I could start burning more incense. It's just, I don't know. We just wing it here. But, the idea that a brand new building, again, doesn't indicate anything. If they are transient, they'll come and go. Maybe this person is sensitive and is a beacon and will draw the spirits. Maybe somebody's been screwing around with a Ouija board in that place. You don't know. There's lots of unintentional portals that can be formed through many, many different ways. But just some food for thought. The next one. All right, hold on a sec. Okay. Yeah, everything still looks good. Huh. All right, so the next one is coming out of Michigan. It says, I've lived in my house since I was about 5 or 6, and it's a 2-story house, and it has an attic and a basement. And when I was little, my parents had a bedroom upstairs that was in the very back of the house. It was big, with a walk-in closet that's broke and stays open about an inch or two because it won't shut all the way. When the phone would ring, someone upstairs in my parents' room would answer it. And it would freak my mom out because when she went to answer the phone downstairs, a light on the phone would come on saying that someone else answered it. My family often found the phone in my parents' room unanswered, or actually answered rather, or sometimes the receiver would be off and sitting next to the base part of the phone. Back then we had the phone with the cord and my parents just ignored it. And finally, they took the phone out of their room. Since then, we haven't had any more problems with that phone, but we have other things. My parents moved out of the room, and then I moved in with my sister, and I was about 7 or so, and my sister was 6, and we shared the room for a couple of years, and then she moved out, and we switched rooms a lot when I was little. And when I was about 13, I moved back into the back bedroom, and after a while, I started getting kind of nervous in the room. I always felt something was there, watching me. My bed was right across from that closet, and so when I went to sleep, it's always a little open, and it really scared me. I started having horrible nightmares of the closet, and the closet started opening on its own. I would go to bed with it closed, and in the morning it would be wide open. Things started getting really creepy, and I wouldn't go near the closet. I felt as if something evil was in there. I told my parents about the things that happened, and they really didn't believe me, and finally my sister switched rooms with me. Well, the same thing started happening to her. She ended up moving out of that room too. And I'm about to be 17, and I still won't go in that room. My room is now the second on the right of the hall, which puts me by the room, and the room was working, but now it's not. I now sleep in my sister's room with her, which is the first room on the left in the hall. My door opens and closes, and you can hear someone walking around in the hall as well as the bathroom doors slamming. And in my room, though, it will get very cold out of the blue. You can hear people walking in the attic above our head, and so much stuff happens that it really creeps me out. I used to have friends stay over and sleep, but they didn't end up staying. They all used to call home or just go home in the middle of the night because something really scared them. This is the haunted house night. It's funny how these stories I'm really honestly pulling them randomly, but they do seem to kind of come on themes like this. It's kind of cool. But it, makes me feel like I should go back and rename the episodes afterwards. Because honestly, I don't read these before the shows at all. I enjoy reading them with you guys and experiencing the story at the same time as you guys do, which sometimes ends up with me reading something that I can't finish when they're really inappropriate or something, but it doesn't happen too often. Or it's a repeat, and I go, oh, wait, I read this before. The next one's coming out of Alaska, ladies and gentlemen, out of Alaska. Well, the person's out of Alaska that submitted it anyway, but it says, last year I was at my mom's cousin's house cleaning with my cousin and my sister. My cousin and I were in the bathroom cleaning, but I had to go to the bathroom, and there was a trash can under the counter, and as I walked by it, the lid of the trash can opened. But I knew it wasn't me because I didn't step on it. It would have been hard for me to step on it if it's under the counter, and that day we heard other sounds. We would come up the stairs after we went downstairs to clean her room, and when we came back up the stairs, someone was stomping behind us. It wasn't either of us because we don't stomp when we run upstairs except when I'm mad. This one other time, I was with my friend Lauren, and we were outside jumping on her trampoline, and we kept looking out into the woods because we would see stuff. And we kept hearing twigs breaking. So we would look over and see this one face that reminded us of the girl from The Ring. We went and got a little closer, but it wasn't there when we got over there. We didn't know what was happening. This other time, my friends Lauren, Jordan, and Hannah and I were playing with the Ouija board, ladies and gentlemen. Boom, boom, boom. Always a fantastically poor idea for most kids. And we lit candles around us, and we called a spirit, and the eye would move. So we would ask questions, and we got a little scared, and Then the candle blew itself out. I was standing on the dressers. It was standing on the dresser, so it wouldn't have been any of us, and we all ran out of the room. Then we came back into the room again, and these dolls were all normal before we left, and when we went back, their heads were turned and their feet were like moved forward where it was going to fall. And we all made sure no one was in there, so it couldn't have been any of us. Yep, keep playing with them Ouija boards, kids. Oh man, I don't know. It's stories like this are a little tougher. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but again, it sounds like a lot of things happen, but it can happen, I guess. I don't know. I shouldn't criticize it all because I really can't say, but that one left me with a intuitive feeling like, maybe not. All right, so let's see. This next one comes out of Massachusetts, ladies and gentlemen. During the evening hours of November the 9th, 1996, I was over at my cousin's place to watch the Tyson Holyfield fight on pay-per-view. Hope you got a bite to eat. Sorry, couldn't resist. That was easy and cheap. And we were going to sleep on the reclining chairs after the fight, so we were going to be out in the living room all night. After the fight got over, we were all tired, so we decided to go to sleep, and I was only 11 at the time, so 1 in the morning was a very early for me. Between 2:30 and 3 in the morning, I heard the toilet flush. I didn't really think anything of it, considering the fact that A, my uncle is a plumber, and B, it was either my brother or one of my 2 cousins, and C, the bathroom was right next to my uncle's bedroom, so I thought it was either him or someone in the family. Thinking nothing of it, I tried going back to sleep, but me and my 11-year-old self, I had to use the can almost right after hearing the water run for a minute. Then I sat up. I saw, Scout's honor, a person standing about 10 feet away from me. I just stood there, not making a sound, unable to move and basically scared. I can't say that word, but basically terrified. Everything was visible. The face, the beard, hands, hell, even a watch he was wearing could be seen. He looked at me for about 6 seconds and then walked to his left and down a spiral staircase into my uncle's basement, where his brother-in-law and sister were living. Needless to say, the bathroom wasn't exactly needed after that experience. Ha ha ha. Cute, cute. The next morning, we all woke up and I asked my uncle about the ghost and if he'd ever seen it. And he never noticed anything, nor did my cousins. I tried telling my mom and dad about it, but they thought I had watched the Friday the 13th movie or something and thought it was a nightmare. A few weeks later, my uncle had put his house up for sale. He had a whole story of the house printed up, and the real estate office that sold him the house, the office that was selling the house, did one as well. Hell, he even had any police reports of that house done as well. Turns out, back in the 80s, a man had accidentally killed himself when he tripped down the spiral staircase. It took my uncle almost a year and a half to sell his house, but in the meantime, he and his wife had seen the ghost I was talking about. They got so scared they took their 1-year-old son away from there in fear the ghost might be dangerous. Nothing physically violent ever happened with anyone in the house by the ghost. A priest came by and blessed the house, and the ghost was seen only a few more times since then. As a joke nowadays, whenever I go by my uncle's new place, I always have a Bible with me just in case. Ha ha ha. Well, there you have it. I don't know. I wonder, maybe that's the whole unfinished business thing, right? The guy tripped down the stairs, and those spiral staircases are cool and all, but God, one wrong step and you're going to be in a world of hurt. A normal staircase to trip on is bad enough, but going down a spiral metal staircase, good God. It's like a death trap. Okay, and the next one. Yeah, we're almost at the 30-minute mark. I guess we're doing good. Let me see one more thing. I'm going to check one more thing here. Nope, all you guys are still here. Okay, good to see ya. All right. This one's coming out of Texas, ladies and gentlemen. It was late at night. I can't remember the exact time, but roughly about 10 o'clock. Sorry, I just thought I'd go for the Texas accent. My mother was sitting at the table making a sandwich, and I was on the living room floor watching television. And my middle sister, Brenda, was in the shower, and all of a sudden, my mom looks up and says, "Why did you try to scare me?" I looked at her and said, "Who tried to scare you?" And she said, "Brenda, come out from behind the door. I already saw you." I told Mom Brenda's still in the shower and there's nobody there. She got up yelling for her to come out from behind the door, and when she walked over there, there was no one there. She sat down and said, "I don't believe it." No, I'm sitting there freaking out because I know I didn't see her there, and my mom is just starting to pray. My sister finally got out of the shower and says, "You look like something scared you." Just then, there was the loudest bang you ever heard in your life on our back door. I jumped out of my bed and ran to my mom's room with my sister as she followed. We sat there and waited, and out of nowhere we could hear the back door open slowly, with the creaks and all the other scary noises you could think of. I told my mom it's in the house. She kept saying, "No, it's nothing, don't worry." My sister and I started to pray and hoped our dad would get home soon. After what seemed like hours, the door slammed shut, and we could hear running around the house. We waited in the room until my dad got home. Around 1 a.m., he finally got home, and we told him all about it. And he laughed at us and called us chickens. Oh, a sensitive male. Must be one of them new males. Which we were, and he went out with a rubber exhaust hose and walked around the house for a long time. And when he came back in, he said he couldn't see anything, no footprints or tracks of any kind. Till this day, I tell this story to my friends and family, and every time I say it, I get the chills, teary-eyed, and just plain scared. But my mom never forgets the day. It almost got us. We could never figure out what was running around the house or what had opened the door. That is creepy. I don't know. If you see somebody peeking from around a door, it's like, oh, yuck. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's so contrary to normal that when a spirit would do something like that, it would just be like, what the hell's wrong with you? You know, why do that? But there again, if it's a negative thing, it may be trying to inspire fear. So I'm going to read a couple more, and then that'll do it for tonight. And let's see. Nope, this one's not too long. And this one's a little longer, but it's okay, because I just giving you the love, that's all. All right, the first one is coming out of Florida. About 4 years ago, I was watching this special news program about a little girl who'd been killed while camping with her family. It was a case that had happened about 12 years ago, and I'm thinking the case had been brought back up. But I'm guessing the case had been brought back up. Thinking, okay, sorry, I screwed that up somehow. Some hours after it ended. It was about 10 at night, and I was walking towards the dining room, and the dining room is an old china cabinet that my great-grandmother gave to my parents. And it has glass doors like every other china cabinet, so usually whenever you walk past it, you could see your reflection. And I have to say that what happened next was one of the scariest things that has ever happened to me. I was the only one in the dining room, so I know for a fact what I saw was for real. As I walked past the cabinet, I happened to look at my reflection. However, I wasn't the only one looking. Standing next to me in my reflection was a little girl that looked exactly like the little girl in the news program that was killed all those years before. She was very pale and had red circles around her eyes. She just stood there with the saddest, yet angriest look on someone's face you could ever see. It looked as if she had a long white shirt on and no shoes or socks. I was so scared that I couldn't even move a muscle. I felt as if I'd been looking at her for an hour. When I finally got a hold of myself, I went running to find my parents. I was crying so hard I could barely get a word out, and I began to feel sick, like I was going to pass out. And it got to the point where I couldn't even say what happened anymore because it really terrified me that much. I usually don't tell people the things I see because most people wouldn't believe it, and I can't imagine what pain that poor girl must be in even after all this time. I only hope that she found peace and can finally rest. That is tragic. That's so, so tragic. The children. All right, the next one, coming out of North Carolina. My name is Kat, and I'm 16. I've lived in this house for 6 years at first. Nothing happened. After a few months, our porch lights would break, and our lights indoors seemed not to last very long, and I always saw dark shadows and heard footsteps up and down the hall leading to my room. But nobody believed me. There it is again. Nobody's believing these people. Believe them. Believe your children. A few years later, my sister Cara was cleaning out the back porch, and our parents weren't home, so the screen doors were locked, and the screen doors had plastic over them to keep out the cold winds, and Cara told me that she saw a shadow fall over her, and something started pulling and shaking the door. She stands up scared, and a shadow runs past the other door. She unlocks it and throws it open, and if I had to run past the corner of the house, she would have seen it. It simply disappeared. She shook it off, but told my father, rather. My father, not believing in ghosts, told us to watch for strange people in the neighborhood, and I swore to Kara it had to be a ghost. Kara didn't believe me. Not long after, her bedroom door would open every night, and she'd freak out crying. I think she was 14 or 15, and when she turned 16, she and I traded rooms, and I still have the same trouble. My door opens every night, whether or not it's locked. I had a friend over last summer, and we were laying on the bed, and I'm reading a book out loud, and I told her my room was haunted previous to this, and she didn't believe me. My door swings open, and she grabs my arm and starts to cry, saying, "Your door opened by itself." I said, "What, you didn't believe me?" She said, "No." About 6 months later, or 6 months after this, her sister, my sister, and I were in the room, and we were online, and we had a webcam because my sister was talking to her friend Paul. All of a sudden, Paul asked, "Who's behind you?" They look behind them, and there's nobody there, and they glance at the webcam, and in the webcam, there's a shadow. They had enough time to look up behind them and back at the webcam once more before the entire computer shut down. Carrie and I had gotten into a huge fight about a guy she liked soon after, and we refused to talk. Well, we left her home alone as I was on my way to my boyfriend's house, and she was getting ready for work, and she called me crying, saying, "Kat, the ghost won't leave me alone. It keeps calling you, and every time I put the phone on speaker and set it down so I can't do my makeup, it turns off the speaker." I laughed and said, "Kara, it's saying we need to talk." And she said, "Well, I don't like this. I'm gone." My mom had finally had enough, and she asked our neighbors if they knew anything about what was going on, and it turns out that our neighbors were having the same trouble. Our houses and the houses around us were once the same plot of land, and there was a sawmill about 100 years ago, and there was an accident and somebody died. But then I found money inside my bed, and my grandpa used to always hide money everywhere, so I told my mom, and she said it couldn't possibly be Dad. He never hid change. If you find dollar bills that are torn in half, you know it's Dad hiding his drinking money. About a week later, we were going through some papers and find 2 torn dollar bills. Now, whether it's my grandpa simply stating that he cares, or a stranger spirit who once worked this land, or both, I don't know. All I know is she didn't believe me. And that's the big problem, right? especially for younger people. It's like trying to share these experiences and get some kind of comfort or validation or just to help reason it out. And oftentimes these stories are met with unbelieving parents and are just shut down. And that's got to be a really frightening place to be because you don't have anybody to help you process it. It's got to be pretty terrifying. But that's our show for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the Bedtime Stories from Beyond, brought to you by the letter O. Oh my God. And we'll be back tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. Don and I will be here to bring you through our Wednesday edition of the Portal. So I hope you guys will be back. And, oh, I'm sorry, Bella. Yeah, it's sad when somebody passes. It's really tough. My father passed this last spring, and it was tough because he and I didn't always have the greatest relationship. But he's since visited me in my dreams, and we've talked and had some really cool bonding. So that, and he apparently still continues to turn on the TV back at home. So they're always around us, Bella. Just open your heart. There's the thing is I really believe that people don't pass away; they just pass. So they're still there, and their love still surrounds you. So just believe in that. You have to believe in that. So, but I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, and I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm sorry I feel like I didn't deliver as good a show tonight, but I guess I'm preoccupied with the whole streaming issue. But it seems to have hopefully stabilized. But anyway, guys, take care. Have a wonderful Wednesday. It's hump day tomorrow. And Don and I will be waiting for you after you get done with your work. And come join us for the Wednesday edition of the Paranormal Portal here on our YouTube channel only. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, 7 nights a week, 7 p.m. Pacific time, there's always a live portal going on. So spread the word, spread the joy, spread the love. And I'll be waiting for you tomorrow night. So take care, everybody. Have a good night and sweet dreams.